Have you been teaching for years, pouring your heart and energy into your students, but end up feeling completely undervalued when you look at your bank account? And that if you ask for more money, it makes you seem un-yogic, and you should just be happy giving it away? In this episode, we're talking about money. And to be honest, money is a topic I've hesitated to bring up or talk about for a long time, but I'm doing it anyway. So let's get started. Welcome to the Youthful Older Yogi podcast. I'm MJ Waddell, your host and founder of Share Yoga. I've been teaching, practicing, and loving yoga for nearly 30 years. I'm an advocate of movement, creativity, and staying healthy in mind and body after 50. It's never too late to start, and there's a lot of healthy years ahead. So let's start now. Hey, everybody. And thank you for tuning in or watching the Youthful Older Yogi. I'm MJ Waddell, the creator and founder of Share Yoga and your host for this podcast. The title of this podcast is The Money Episode, and how to ask for your value. So I recently did something that made me incredibly nervous after 2 years of faithful, dedicated teaching at a 55 plus community. I asked for a raise. Now, keep in mind, I've been teaching for over 20 years. I'm experienced. My classes are full. The residents there, they love me and I love them. And yet I was terrified to ask for my value. So I had to sit and wonder, why is it so hard for me to talk or to ask for more money? Now, listen, I've got a lot of money history that I'm working on, so I'm not going to go deep into that. But for me, it felt really risky because they might say, oh, well, thanks so much, and just move on to the next yoga teacher. And I really didn't want to burn a bridge. And I just want to put this in context that I work for a company that hires out fitness professionals, and all the correspondence is done via text or email. If I could have done this in person, I would have. I really think in person is the best way to ask. But I just have to say, even just sending an email, I was nervous. I spent a couple hours drafting the letter, and then I nervously pressed send. So the result was I asked for a $20 increase per class, and they gave me $5. So it wasn't the number I wanted, but the real win was the act of the ask. And I realized that if I don't ask, the answer is always no. And I'm the one who possibly ending up leaving money on the table. So I walked away with the dignity of having stood up for my business. So this is what I want to talk about today. And I want to help others if you're in the situation that I am in. I'm just going to give you some tips and tools that I use, and hopefully they can help you out. So let's just start. We're all starting out in that puppy dog phase of yoga when we're just getting out of our 200-hour teaching program. We're so excited to share the practice with everyone. And those first few years as a yoga teacher, you just say yes to everything for the experience. And I believe you should. I did. I said yes to everything. But for this episode, I'm really talking to the teachers that have at least 10 years plus under their belt of teaching, especially my youthful older yogis out there. And maybe some of you living on a fixed income or living solo like myself. So listen, if I had disposable income, I would teach yoga for free. But I don't. And my advice to you on this is just take a breath before you say yes to anything and ask yourself, is this opportunity providing me value, or am I just providing cheap labor to them? Sometimes it might feel like that. So I did some digging into the numbers and the data, and it's really kind of shocking. I kind of already knew this, but I just wanted to see if there's any data around it. So and I'm reading this off of my notes here. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and Industry Reports from Yoga Alliance, the average class rate hasn't shifted much from that $25 to $50 range in nearly 2 decades. That's depressing. So when you factor in the cost of living, inflation, especially those who are living solo, the rate is actually a pay cut compared to what it was 20 years ago. So think about that. I mean, the cost of everything has gone up. We all know this. And our standard rate, quote unquote, has been the same. So we're often operating at a loss when you factor in travel, insurance, prep time, all the things that go into having your yoga business. Okay. And then there was two organizations. They did a massive joint study called Yoga in America study. And this is what is the most cited for the source of yoga statistics. They found that a majority of yoga teachers, about 67%, work less than 10 hours a week, and most are paid a flat fee per class. Okay, I'm one of those. In person, I work less than 10 hours. Everything else, I work a lot. And so that source is the Bureau of Labor Statistics and Yoga Alliance. And I believe Yoga Journal might have been a part of this as well. So also under Bureau of Labor Statistics, they categorize yoga teachers as fitness trainers and instructions. And that shows the median hourly range is between 22 to 25 an hour. And people say, that's a lot of money per hour. But we can't teach 8 hours a day. Maybe you can. You can't do it for long. Trust me. I've been a full-time yoga teacher. But that, that's also doesn't account for the fact that we are independent contractors. And that means we pay our own taxes and health insurance out of that very small amount. And then I looked at ZipRecruiter and Glassdoor. They track the job postings to see what companies are actually offering. And the data on that says many teachers might start at $15 to $20 a class, especially in gyms or at the YMCA. Specialized or senior teachers can command $75 to $100 plus for privates or for corporate sessions. But that doesn't say, your typical gym class or at a studio or wherever it may be. So this is, entry level. You're offered $20 a class. Someone that's trained in yoga therapy or a specific demographic can be closer more to 50 to 75 per session. But, I'm 20 plus years of teaching and I still feel like I'm at the entry level rate for most of my gigs. Plus, on top of that, we're not just showing up as yoga teachers. We also have to learn how to be social media managers, cinematographers, editors, all of that stuff. And, for the past 4 years, I've spent building this online yoga presence through this podcast and through teaching privates. And I love it, but I want to be really transparent about it. This is where the burnout happens, doing all of the extra stuff, not just showing up and teaching yoga like it used to be when I first started 20 years ago. You went to studios or gym, you showed up and you taught your class and you got paid. Now there's a lot more to it. Also getting studios to host your workshops or your series. And it's okay to admit that it can be really exhausting, but I don't want this to be a downer episode. So before I move on to some of my tips and experiences, I want to invite you to my Nurture and Nourish retreat. So this is where you can reconnect with your body, your mind, and your spirit through mindful movement, nourishing meals, and time spent on the exquisite coastal surroundings of Bald Head Island, North Carolina. I mean, the retreat is for women only and who are ready to embrace rest, nutrition, movement, and adventure on this island in a very positive and happy atmosphere. There's only 4 spots remaining. Today, I'm filming this episode. I think it's May 9th. So please visit my website, shareyogawithmj.com, shareyogawithmj.com for all the details. You will be taken care of the minute you arrive on the island, and I really hope to see you there. Okay, so let's go back to the episode and some tips I'm going to share with you from my experiences. Hopefully they can help you. So I want to go back to the letter, okay, that I wrote. And I want to read it to you, parts of it, so you can see what I did to get that whopping $5 raise. And again, if I could have done this in person, I would have. So here's part of what I wrote. I want to say how much I've appreciated working with, their company name is Met Fitness, over the past 2 years. Teaching at Del Webb, that's the name of the community, has been such a positive experience. I've truly enjoyed connecting with the residents and have built some meaningful relationships there. I'd like to revisit my current compensation. I've been at a rate of $40 per class for over 2 years, and at this point, I'd like to adjust my rate to $60 per class. I care deeply about the quality of the classes I offer and consistently aim to support participants at all levels, including incorporating props and offering thoughtful guidance to ensure a safe and welcoming experience. If there is an interest in expanding programming at Del Webb, I would be happy to explore additional offerings such as chair yoga, aqua fitness, or themed series. A short-term series format, for example, 6 to 8 weeks, could be a great way to gauge interest while allowing for flexibility on both sides. I would love to continue, provided we can come to an agreement on updated compensation. I truly value my relationship with Met Fitness and appreciate the opportunities you've given me to teach and sub over the years. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Okay, so you don't need a fancy template, but you do need a strategy. So again, it took me a couple hours to compose this letter, nervously compose it. So here's the bullet points on it. I led with appreciation. I taught about, I wrote how much I appreciated working with them and what a great experience has been for myself with the residents. It's been very positive. And then I tried to keep it into a no blame tone. Like, I'm not complaining. I'm just simply stating that for the relationship to evolve, terms need to evolve. Right? I'm not saying, oh, it's so hard for me to make a living, yada, yada. No complaining, no blame. And then I offered ideas. So showing them how I can make more money and serve more residents. It's like a win-win. So they're going to make more money if more residents, I think. I'm not sure how they get paid. But it also positions me as a business partner instead of like an hourly worker. So proposing like a 6 to 8 week series, I'm just suggesting that they try this and see maybe what the results might be. And I mentioned my loyalty and my relationship to Met Fitness and my history of subbing. So that's value to them, right? They haven't had to look for somebody to sub for me all the time and all of that. So when you remind them of your reliability, you've been there through the transitions. They went from a house to a club, a beautiful clubhouse, and that I'm easy to work with. So that's the letter. I just wanted to share that with you. Maybe that will give you some tips. But again, I always recommend in person. Okay. So here's about the face-to-face in person when asking for more money, when your palms are sweating and you just are just really nervous. And I understand why. I really do. So preparation is the key. Just be prepared. When you sit down for that conversation, think of it, just prepare that conversation with as much love and attention as you prepare your classes. You listen first, you respond, you ask. It's really all the same bullet points of the letter that I just shared with you, only it's face-to-face. So again, you would start with gratitude. Express the enjoyment of teaching wherever you're teaching and your appreciation of the relationship, which is true. No blame. We don't know well, many of you do know it's very hard for studios just to make a profit, right? There's a lot of expense that goes into a studio. Gyms and other things, I'm not sure. There's just a lot of unknown that go on behind the scenes. So there's no blame here. Maybe they want to give you so much money. Maybe they just can't. Then also, if you are able to keep records of your class attendance and your student signups and the retention rates and the positive feedback, classes are full, that's the terms of the value you bring to wherever you're working. You could say something like, my classes have been been consistently full 90% of the time. I see a lot of returning faces, and that helps studio membership. So if you can demonstrate that you can routinely bring in revenue, it supports your worthiness, your value for a raise. And it also tells the studio that you consistently generate enough money to cover that raise. Now, I don't know if I would say that out loud. Hopefully they're recognizing your value. And then highlight your specializations. So again, in the letter I said I'd love to, talk about offering chair yoga or aqua fitness or whatever it may be, your specialty, prenatal, restorative, yin, whatever your specialties are, or a unique niche class that you could offer. Maybe find out what the students there are asking for. So you can highlight, other specializations that you might have. Have a specific number in mind and state it clearly. I did this in my letter. I said I wanted $60. I didn't beat around the bush. I was specific, okay? And you don't have to apologize for it or over explain. Just state it. And then be prepared for a no. And that doesn't mean that they don't appreciate you or value you. It could be a no for now, but then you have these other alternative negotiations in your back pocket, which, maybe the compensation is, can we look at per head if there's more than 20 students in the class? Can we negotiate maybe $2 extra per head over 15 or 20 students per class? It's kind of like a bonus. Also, you could negotiate a subbing bonus fee. Sometimes if you're reliable and you're like that last minute sub, a little extra money goes a long way. I work for a CPR company that does a great thing. I teach at a flat rate per class there. And if I get a good Google testimonial or review, I get $10 extra. That is really, I love that about that company that does that. And it makes me want to even do better and show up more and, get more reviews, good reviews. So those are a couple things that you might negotiate with or offer or suggest. It's not really, it can be negotiable, but think of it as suggestions, right? You're trying to help them make more money too. It's not just you want more money, you want more money for wherever you're working that you love to work at. And then also, the series or the workshops or the privates where you split, right? You negotiate a split, like 70% for me, 30% for the studio or whatever that may be. And then you can also be armed with, the research that this is what specialty teachers are making in this firm. It's really just, people with similar experience, years that you've had under your belt. It just helps to have this. You may not use it, but just do it. And you can go to, I'll leave the links for the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Yoga Journal, and Yoga Alliance. Yeah. Let's see what else did I write. I said, don't be afraid to ask about the future. So that states that you plan on staying and growing with them. So if they say no, it's okay to ask, can we revisit this in 12 or 6 to 12 months to see if there's any shift? It's okay. And then I also wrote, try to avoid ultimatums. Like, if I don't get this, then I'm not going to work here. If I don't get this, then I can't teach that. Or just remember, it's a conversation to feel out what's possible or not possible. And the win is you did it. You showed up and you asked. And that's my final encouragement for you today, is to really value your time, your energy, and your passion you've put into yourself and into your yoga business, into your students. I mean, none of us started out teaching yoga because we thought we were going to get rich. We teach because we love sharing the vast amount of benefits of the practice. And we deserve being well compensated for helping people. So let's start asking for it. I mean, it might be worth it, even if it's just $5 more. It all counts. So I hope my experience may help you a little bit if you feel nervous about asking for more or wouldn't even think about asking for more. Maybe this will start to give you a little bit more confidence. Even talking about it, my palms are sweating. So it's a real thing. But we are valued. We are valued teachers and wellness professionals. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your time, or if you're watching on YouTube, I completely appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, do all those things. It just helps to get this podcast out to more people. And all of subscribing and liking, they're all free. There's no charge to it. And again, please visit my website, shareyogawithmj.com. shareyogawithmj.com for all the retreat details. And as soon as I learn how to put it on my website, I'll put on my website the classes I'll be teaching up in Rochester, New York in this July 2026. So, and follow me on Instagram and Facebook, all the things, so you don't miss out on anything. And again, thank you so much for being here. And until we meet again, keep sharing yoga. Namaste. Thank you so much for listening. Now you can go to my show notes on YouTube or Buzzsprout and send me a voicemail or email. I'd love to hear what topics you'd like me to speak about, what your thoughts are on the episodes, and maybe I'll share your message on a future episode. Please subscribe to my website, shareyogawithmj.com, so you can receive my newsletters and be first to know about my retreats, workshops, courses, and freebies. If you navigate on social media, you can find me mostly on Facebook and a bit on Instagram at Mary Jane Waddell. That's Jane with a Y, Jayne. This podcast would not be possible without the help of my editor, Dan Jones from Cocoa Beach Productions. You can find Dan at cocoabeachweb.com. And of course, thanks to my generous guests who share their time, insights, and youthful wisdom. Remember, the Youthful Older Yogi podcast is presented solely for educational, inspirational, and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for a physician or other qualified professionals. Okay, yogis, stay well, stay youthful, and keep sharing yoga.